Michael Scott is an office manager whose leadership style is full of awkward attempts to be liked. Michael constantly strives to please his subordinates, although his mannerisms often come off as rude or inappropriate. His jokes are often inappropriate, and he often fails to recognize the boundaries of what is acceptable. Despite this, Michael cares deeply for his employees and genuinely wants them to be happy. At his best, he is capable of touching care and support, making him a complex and multifaceted character. Michael is always eager to show off his creativity and personality, which often leads to curiosities such as creating bizarre corporate events or awkward toasts. Jim Halpert is an employee known for his wit and sarcasm. Jim works in sales and is quickly becoming the voice of reason among his co-workers. He is often accompanied by humorous comments and glances into the camera that give viewers a glimpse into his inner thoughts. Jim is also known for his pranks on his co-worker Dwight. He skillfully balances his work and personal life, showing viewers that he is dedicated to his work but also values and nurtures his relationships with others. Pam Beasley is a receptionist whose dreams of a career as an artist and her personal life unfold against the backdrop of the office routine. Pam is friendly and helpful, often becoming a listening ear for her co-workers and bringing warmth and comfort to the office. Her relationship with Jim is one of the central plot elements of the series, beginning with their friendship and developing into a romantic relationship. Pam shows a lot of inner turmoil related to her career and personal life, making her a realistic and deeply developed character. Dwight Schrute is an ambitious and sometimes eccentric assistant regional director. Dwight has odd hobbies such as raising pigs and studying martial arts. His unorthodox ways of working and deep desire to advance his career often lead to comical situations. Despite his oddity and strict approach to work, Dwight shows real loyalty to the company and his co-workers, especially Michael, whom he considers his mentor. Angela Martin is a strict and conservative accountant known for her adherence to rules and her many prejudices. Angela is prone to disastrous displays of her strictness, which sometimes causes conflicts with other employees. Her mania for control and her love of cats are sometimes a source for comical and unusual situations. Angela also has complex relationships with some co-workers, which makes her character more layered and interesting. Oscar Martinez is an accountant known for his intelligent and rational nature. Oscar is often the intellectual opposite to some of his more eccentric co-workers. He is outspoken in his opinions and often finds himself in difficult situations when his opinions clash with those of other co-workers. Oscar also becomes an important voice in various office issues and disputes. Kevin Malone is an accountant with a notable characteristic. His slowness and naivete create many comical moments in the series. Kevin often displays a peculiar perception of the world, which makes his character unique and memorable. His goofiness, despite its outward simplicity, often hides sincerity and kindness. Toby Flenderson is a human resources employee who is often the object of ridicule from his co-workers, especially Michael. His humble and well-meaning nature makes him easily vulnerable to office trolling. Despite this, Toby plays an important role in maintaining order and fairness in the office, though his efforts often go unseen. Other than that, he's incredibly boring. Andy Bernard is an employee who is known for his musical talents and emotional outbursts. Andy tends to express his feelings and experiences through singing and musical performances, which makes him unique in the office environment. His desire to be recognized and loved by his co-workers, as well as his emotional instability, make his character multi-layered and interesting. Let's not forget that before he got into the anger management program, he was a pretty fiery character. Ryan Howard is an intern in the sales department at the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton. He is concurrently pursuing a master's degree in business school and dreams of starting his own business. Michael often gets Ryan to do his menial labor for him, while becoming obsessed with Ryan's personal life, obsessively trying to win his friendship. As the series progresses, Ryan begins to show increasing contempt and disdain for both his co-workers and his job. Stanley Hudson, a sales representative for the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton. A perpetually disgruntled, moody, and grumpy man who hates his job and dreams of retiring soon, his only motivation is to earn money to pay for his oldest daughter's college tuition. Loves to do crossword puzzles, which he often does during work hours. Stanley generally has a good relationship with most of his co-workers, especially Phyllis, with whom he shares a desk and often has lunch. He dislikes Michael, from whom he often hears inappropriate jokes about his African-American ancestry, but usually patiently tries to ignore his boss's antics, only rarely allowing himself to confront him openly. Meredith Palmer is a vendor manager at the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton. A middle-aged divorced woman raising one of her two children alone and leading a promiscuous lifestyle that includes promiscuous sex and alcohol abuse, including drinking in the workplace, as well as, in her own words, an addiction to pornography. During work hours, she usually plays solitaire on her computer. One of the series' regular jokes is that Meredith is usually the one physically affected by office emergencies. Phyllis, sales representative for the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton. A quiet and friendly woman who loved women's talk and gossip. Despite her genteel appearance, she has often shown herself to be a very vindictive person towards Angela, with whom she has constant conflicts. Michael often embarrasses Phyllis by calling her unfeminine and old, even though they were in the same class in high school. Phyllis is married to Bob Vance of Vance Refrigeration, whose office is on the same floor as Dunder Mifflin. Kelly Kapoor is a customer service associate at Dunder Mifflin's Scranton branch. Indian American. A chatty simpleton who seems to have nothing in her head but thoughts about men, clothes, cosmetics, and celebrity gossip. However, sometimes you can see that she turns on the fool on purpose. Since Kelly works in a separate room from her co-workers, she pesters Toby, who sits at a neighboring desk behind a partition, with her conversations. Creed Broughton, quality assurance manager at the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton. No one, including Creed himself, knows exactly what his responsibilities are as an employee. Creed constantly shirks both his immediate and additional duties, such as cleaning the office. He gives the impression of a pleasant old man, but in fact he is a kleptomaniac with low moral qualities, and what goes on in his head, Ryan considered too shocking even for the internet. In his life he has been a drug addict, hippie, homeless, rock musician, and apparently had problems with the law. Despite having the longest tenure of anyone in the office, Creed was never actually hired. He just walked into the office one day and acted like he worked there, and has come to work every day since. Daryl Philbin, warehouse supervisor at the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton, later marketing director. Although he is usually dry and irritable when dealing with Michael, Daryl is actually a relaxed, charming, and pleasant guy who often showed himself to be a more competent and ambitious manager than Michael. Despite working in the warehouse. Divorced, raising a young daughter whom he loves very much. Roy Anderson is a warehouse worker at the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton. By the time the series began, he had already been engaged to Pam for 3 years, which made it impossible for her to leave her office job and do what she loved. A rude, inconsiderate, and tactless man who allows himself, despite his relationship with Pam, compliments with sexual overtones on other women and often offends Pam with his statements and actions. John Levinson, vice president of sales for Dunder Mifflin in the Northeast District and Michael's immediate supervisor, adheres to a serious management style that clashes with Michael's more informal approach. Since her office is in New York City, Jean communicates with the Scranton branch mostly by phone. She usually asks if she's on camera when she talks to Michael on speakerphone, and Michael often lies and tells her that she isn't before admitting that she is, at which point she hangs up. Aaron Hannon, administrator of the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton. Quite intellectual, funny, sometimes with silly behavior and childlike naivete, Aaron always remains Dunder Mifflin's most pleasant and optimistic employee. Not only does she enjoy being an administrator, unlike her predecessor Pam, but she also admires her co-workers, including Michael and Dwight, almost unreservedly. She grew up in foster care and mentioned that when she was young, my hair was my room, that is, the place where she hid from stress and trauma. Gabe Lewis, director coordinator of emerging regions at Saber's headquarters. Saber has an illogical deal with Dunder Mifflin's Scranton branch that keeps Gabe in Tallahassee, Florida, 3 days a week and 2 in Scranton, requiring him to fly between jobs. A neurotic sycophant and insecure man, he often resigned himself to having to work overtime because of the unpredictable management style of former Saber CEO Joe Bennett. He suffers from an uneasy relationship with his co-workers. During his first year and a half at the Scranton branch, his attempts to earn the respect of the rest of the office workers ended in failure. Although at first it seemed that the employees simply ignored him, he soon became nothing more than a laughingstock to them, having been repeatedly insulted or ridiculed despite his corporate status. Holly Flax is a temporary human resources worker at the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton. From her very first appearance in the office, it's clear she's the female version of Michael. Holly fully supports Michael in all his crazy and silly endeavors, often behaves inappropriately for an office worker, and loves to parody various characters. Moreover, she thinks exactly like Michael. When he got lost, Holly found him just walking around town. As it turns out, she was following the same path as him. She is the key to Michael, as Dwight put it at the time. Robert California, former CEO of Dunder Mifflin, Sabre. An enigmatic, manipulative man, he often inspired and intimidated the employees of the Scranton branch. At the end of Season 8, it is revealed that Robert California is not his real name. He introduces himself to David Wallace as Bob Kozamakis, Nellie Bertram, regional manager of the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton. A rough and outspoken woman with English roots. Born in a working-class town in Basildon, England, she spoke with an appalling Essex accent until she was 32. Nellie makes some very bad decisions in her professional life. However, she is aware of her shortcomings, telling the camera crew, "I grew up in poverty. I had little education and no real skills. I don't do much work. Most of my ideas are either not original or complete nonsense." Clark Green, one of the new customer service employees at the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton, who came in after Kelly left. Dwight hires him as a junior salesman after realizing that none of his friends and family are suited for the job. At first, he is referred to as the new Dwight. Pete Miller, one of the new customer service employees at the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton, who came in after Kelly left, and he gave him the nickname Spit, which Pete doesn't particularly like. He is originally called the New Jim because of their similar looks, though they quickly realize they have no common interests. After Erin breaks up with Andy, she and Pete start dating. David Wallace is a CFO, later CEO of the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton. Although his lifestyle differs from that of the Scranton branch members, David tolerates and understands the eccentricities and shortcomings of regional manager Michael Scott and appreciates employees Jim and Toby. He is fired after the Dunder Mifflin Sabre takeover. He later sells his patent for a toy-collecting vacuum cleaner called Suction to the U.S. military for $20 million and later acquires Dunder Mifflin for an undisclosed amount of money and becomes CEO. Dangelo Vickers was Michael's replacement as regional manager of the Dunder Mifflin branch in Scranton at the end of Season 7 as Michael moved to Colorado with his fiancée Holly. He's largely incompetent in a management position as he's proven himself to be a biased manager, a terrible salesman, and a bad host of the annual Dundee Awards show. He tells Andy that he was not hired because of his business experience, but because he helped prevent one of CEO Joe Bennett's dogs from being stolen. Joe Bennett, CEO of Sabre, the company that buys Dunder Mifflin in Season 6. In Season 8, she gives up her CEO position but remains the chairman of the board of directors. She is an outspoken and stubborn Southern woman who has written an autobiography called Take a Good Look. She has two German dogs and a white Cadillac Escalade hybrid, is a breast cancer survivor and licensed pilot, and a friend of Nancy Pelosi, Democratic U.S. politician. Charles Miner is vice president of sales for Dunder Mifflin's Northeast branch, taking over the position vacated by Ryan and Jean. Prior to joining Dunder Mifflin, he worked at Satakoy Steel and has an accounting background. His serious management skills clash with Michael's laid-back demeanor, and when he meets Jim, he takes an immediate dislike to him. His good looks and firm attitude cause Angela and Kelly to be immediately attracted to him. He later says that he knew the effect he had on women and was not interested in either of them. Soon, Charles forces Michael to leave after canceling Michael's 15th anniversary party at the company. When Michael is rehired, he demands that Charles be fired, but David Wallace refuses, stating that Charles is valuable. Corinne Fili-Pelli is a sales representative for the Dunder Mifflin branch in Stamford, later moving to the Scranton branch as part of a merger. She dated Jim. In the Season 3 finale, she and Jim travel to New York to interview for a corporate job. Neither of them get the job, and soon she leaves Jim and quits the Scranton branch. It is later revealed that she is the regional manager of the Utica, New York branch and is 8 months pregnant. Todd Packer, a rude and promiscuous sales rep, comes to work in Scranton and immediately annoys everyone except Michael. Jim and Dwight convince him to move to Tallahassee, but after he insults Holly, Michael ends up agreeing with the general consensus that Packer is a creep. Packer subsequently gets a job at Sabre's Tallahassee office, but is later fired. He reappears in Season 9, trying to get revenge on his former co-workers by handing out poisoned cupcakes. Katie Sims, a temp replacing Pam on maternity leave, was invisible in the office. Despite gossip and jokes from co-workers, especially Dwight, Kathy grew close to Jim. However, as it later turned out, she was in love with him. During a business trip to Florida, Kathy tried to seduce Jim, but he refused, reminding her that he was married and happily married. Katie, embarrassed, pretended she had no romantic intentions. After this setback, Kathy was upset by Jim's behavior but soon lost interest in him, laughing at Dwight's jokes about Jim. At the end of the business trip, Katie was fired and never returned to the Dunder Mifflin office. Nate Nickerson is a blunt but good-natured warehouse worker who used to be Dwight's handyman. He helps Dwight with various tasks, such as cleaning up a hornet's nest, participating in a straw festival, and turning toilet paper into single-ply paper. Nate doesn't understand English very well, but he speaks a little Spanish. He gets a job at a warehouse in Season 8 and appears in several episodes of Season 9, including the series finale. Kathy Moore, a handbag saleswoman, caught the eye of Michael and Dwight but preferred Jim. Their relationship lasted a few months but ended after Jim realized he couldn't love Kathy as much as Pam. Katie went to the same high school as Roy but cheered for a different team. A role in Michael's movie was originally planned for her, but due to the actress' busy schedule, the idea did not materialize. Helen Beasley, Pam's mother, was warmly received by Roy and Jim. Her marriage to Pam's father, William, fell apart after a divorce that occurred after Jim confessed his love for Pam to William. In Season 6, Helen began dating Michael, much to Pam's dismay. Their relationship ended after Michael found out that Helen had already accomplished a lot in life that he hadn't yet. Carol Stills is Michael's real estate agent. She has 2 children. In a deleted scene, it is revealed that after casino night, Michael continued to date her for 3 months. Carol declined Michael's marriage proposal. In Season 3, after Michael gives her an inappropriate Christmas card with them on it, she breaks up with him. In a deleted scene from this episode, Carol answers Michael's question on the phone about what he did wrong with a very long list of complaints, and when Michael asks what he did right, she hangs up. Mosa Schrute, Dwight's cousin, lives on the family beet farm. He is naive, childish in his behavior, and seems mentally unstable at times. Mosa helps Dwight with his plans by bullying Ryan, putting a raccoon in Holly's car, and even trying to throw Angela off his tail. Mosa has papyrophobia, so Dwight thinks he would make a good salesman, but Mosa runs away from the interview when Dwight exposes his lies on his resume. Despite his odd behavior, Mosa is an accomplished table tennis player. Robert Lipton, a Pennsylvania state senator, meets Angela and soon marries her. They have a child together, but it is later revealed that Lipton is homosexual. He has an affair with Oscar, which leads to a rift in his relationship with Angela. Eventually, Lipton makes a coming out at a press conference, shocking Angela, who divorces him afterward. Lipton admits that he is in love with his chief of staff, not Oscar. Hank Tate heads up security at the office park. Hank is quiet and stern and does his duties without much enthusiasm. Since Dwight bought the building, Hank's duties have expanded to include maintaining the coffee counter. He also owns a fractional share of the rental properties in Pittston. Hank appeared in a deleted scene in which he participated in a Jim and Pam prank to make Dwight believe that the Matrix is real. The full deleted scene was posted on YouTube on January 1, 2021 and contains a dedication at the end to the recently deceased Hugh Dane, the actor who played Hank. And who's your favorite character?